My sister was in the middle of telling the entire engagement party that I had wasted my life, that I had nothing to show for 30 years, no husband, no house, no real career. When her fiancé walked through the front door, saw me standing at the center of the room, and said one word. "Boss." The room went completely silent. Not the polite silence of people being courteous. The specific silence of 30 people processing something at the same time, and none of them being fast enough to get there first. My sister Priya turned to look at her fiancé. Her fiancé, Karen, whom I had not yet met, whom she had been dating for 8 months, whom she had described to me as a director at a tech firm, was standing in the doorway with his jacket over one arm and his expression doing something I can only describe as a controlled emergency. He was looking at me. I was looking at him. I had not known his last name until this moment. I had not connected the Karen that Priya mentioned to the Karen Mehta, who had been my senior director for 14 months before I had promoted him, and who currently ran the entire product division of the company I had founded 7 years ago. He had not known that his boss's name was the same as his fiancée's sister. We had both been at the center of a piece of information that neither of us had, and that had just arrived in the same room at the same time. "Boss," my sister said, to him. Her voice was the specific voice of someone who is replaying the last 5 minutes of what they have said and is understanding it differently. Karen looked at Priya, then at me, then at the 30 people in the room who were all looking at both of us. "Priya," he said carefully, "this is Meera Sharma. She's the founder and CEO of Arctes." My sister's face did something I had never seen it do before. I picked up my drink, I took a sip, I said nothing. Because the room was saying everything. Part 1, PRIYA and the Shape of Things. My name is Meera Sharma, and I want to tell you about my sister before I tell you about the party, because Priya is not a villain and the story is not about a villain. Priya was 2 years older than me and had, from the time we were children, been the one who was good at the things that were visible. She was beautiful in the specific way that rooms noticed. She was socially effortless in the way that produced friends and then popularity, and then the particular life that popularity builds, the right marriage track, the right social circle, the right events. She had married at 27 and then separated at 31, and the separation had been painful and had not been discussed in the family in any depth, because these things were not discussed. She was 32 now and newly engaged to Karen, and the engagement had the specific energy of someone rebuilding after a difficult period. Enthusiastic, slightly performative, wanting the world to see that things were good and going well. I was 30 years old. I had founded a technology company called Arctes at 23, had built it through 7 years of the specific relentlessness that building a company from nothing requires, and had, 6 months ago, closed a Series C funding round that had valued the company at 420 crore rupees. I had, at the time of the engagement party, 311 employees and offices in 3 cities. I had not talked about any of this at family gatherings for years. Not because I was ashamed of it, because I had learned early that talking about it produced a specific kind of family response that was exhausting. My father was proud in the way that required re-explaining to every relative what I did, which meant simplifying it until it didn't sound like what it was. My mother worried that the work was too much and that I wasn't eating. My aunts asked about marriage. Talking about Arctes at family gatherings was more work than building Arctes had been on most days. So I had stopped talking about it there. I had simply shown up, been present, listened to other people's news, and kept my professional life in the compartment where it ran well. Priya had, over the years, filled the silence about my work with her own interpretation. She was not malicious about this. She genuinely believed what she said. She had watched me be quiet about money things for years and had concluded that I was quiet because there was not much to say. She had watched me avoid the marriage conversation and concluded that the conversation was avoided because the prospect was not available. She had built a picture of me in the family that was smaller than the real picture, and I had allowed it because correcting it required energy I was spending on other things. The engagement party had been the night she had decided to correct the picture herself, in front of everyone, in the specific way of someone who is building their own confidence by itemizing another person's perceived failures. She had not planned for Karen. Neither had I. Part 2, KRANMHDA. I need to tell you about Karen before the party, because the party is only part of the story, and the part before the party matters. Karen Maida had joined Arctis 19 months ago as a senior director in the product division. He had come from a larger company where he had been doing excellent work that was not being seen correctly, which was the specific frustration that good people in large organizations accumulate over time until it becomes a reason to leave. He had applied to Arctis because he had been following what we were building and thought he could contribute to it in ways he could not contribute to anything at his previous company. His interview had been the best interview I had conducted in 7 years of hearing. Not because he was performing, because he was thinking in front of me in real time, responding to hard questions with honest answers rather than managed ones, showing me how his mind worked rather than what his resume said his mind had produced. I had made the offer the same day, which I had never done before. He was 34 years old. He had grown into his role at Arctis with the speed of someone who had been constrained before and was now unconstrained. The product division had done its best work in the 14 months since his arrival, a fact that was in the numbers and in the team's energy, and in the specific way that the right person in the right role changes the quality of everything around them. He and I had a good working relationship. Professional, direct, built on the mutual respect of two people who were both doing the work seriously. We had the specific ease of a well-functioning professional partnership, able to disagree productively, able to understand each other's thinking quickly, able to have the hard conversations without them becoming personal. I had not known he was dating my sister. He had not known I had a sister named Priya. The world is not large enough sometimes. Part 3, the party. The engagement party was at my parents' house in the neighborhood where Priya and I had grown up. The kind of house that hosts this kind of gathering well, enough space, the right configuration of rooms flowing into the garden, my mother's particular talent for making any occasion feel like the occasion it is supposed to be. I had arrived on time, which at family gatherings made me slightly early. My mother had put me to work helping with the arrangement of things, which I was happy to do because having a task made the waiting easier. Relatives had arrived in the incremental way of family gatherings, each addition to the room adding to the particular weight of collective expectation. Priya had arrived with her friends, her energy high and her presentation perfect, and the particular brightness of someone who is having their moment and knows it and wants it. She was beautiful in the way I described, the room noticing, the room responding. Her fiancé had texted to say he was running 20 minutes late from work and would be there soon. The 20 minutes had been when it had happened. I was standing near the drinks table, having been talking to my cousin about something I have since completely forgotten, when Priya had come to stand at the center of the room in the way of someone making an announcement. She had said she wanted to share a thought about gratitude, about her family, and how proud she was of where they all were. And then she had said something kind about our parents, something kind about our cousin who had recently had a baby, something brief and warm about various aunts and uncles. And then she had come to me. She had said, "And Mira, who reminds all of us that it's okay to take your time, to not have everything figured out, to still be finding your way at 30. She had smiled at me with the smile of someone who thought they were being generous. "We love you no matter what, Mira. Even when life doesn't go the way you planned." The room had made the sound of people who were not entirely comfortable with what had been said, but were going to let it pass. I had been about to let it pass. Then my mother had made a small sound of the kind that mothers make when they are not entirely happy with what has just been said about someone they love, and my father had looked at his drink, and Priya had continued. "Some of us figured things out early," she had said, "and some of us are still figuring, and that's okay, that's family, we all move at different speeds." I had looked at my sister across the room. I had seen someone who was building herself up by using me as the floor. I had opened my mouth to say something. and the front door had opened, and Karen had walked through it, and the word had landed in the room like a stone in still water. Boss. Part 4, The Aftermath. The silence lasted about 4 seconds. Then everyone started talking at once, which is what 30 people do when a silence is too charged to maintain. The talking was not about the revelation, it was around it, the social management of an awkward moment, the noise of a room that needs to return to normal. Karen crossed the room to where I was standing. His expression, up close, was the controlled version of something more complicated. Mira, he said, my name without the title because we were not at the office. Karen, I said equally. I didn't, he started. I know, I said. When she mentioned her sister's name, I thought, he stopped. I should have put it together. It's an easy thing to miss, I said. I go by Sharma professionally. She's Kapoor now, different names. I didn't know she had a sister at Arctes, he said. I didn't know you were engaged to my sister, I said. We looked at each other with the specific expression of two people who are both processing the same information from different starting points and are both uncertain what it means. Priya had come to stand beside Karen. Her hand was on his arm. Her expression was the expression of someone who had been in the middle of a specific speech and whose speech had been rendered into something different than it was by the arrival of information she did not have. You're her boss, Priya said to Karen, not a question. She's my CEO, Karen said. Yes. Priya looked at me. I looked at my sister. I thought about the speech, about still finding your way at 30 and life doesn't go the way you planned, and the smile that thought it was being generous. I looked at her, and I thought about all the things I could say, and I chose the one that was truest. Congratulations on the engagement, I said. I mean that. And I picked up my drink, and I went to talk to my uncle about something else entirely. Part 5, What the Party Became. The party continued. Parties always continue. The specific momentum of social gatherings carries them forward regardless of what happens inside them. I talked to my relatives. I ate the food my mother had made. I was present and warm and exactly as I always was at family gatherings, which is to say, myself without the professional context, the version of me that was Mira rather than the CEO of Arctes. Karen was across the room for most of the evening. I could not, entirely, stop being aware of where he was. This was a function of having worked alongside someone for 19 months and having the particular awareness that professional proximity builds. I knew how he moved through spaces, how he handled conversations, the specific way he stood when he was listening to someone carefully versus when he was being polite. He was being polite to a lot of relatives. And he was occasionally looking across the room at me with an expression I had not seen from him in 19 months of working together. Not the professional expression. Something else. Something that was doing the specific thing of processing multiple things at the same time. The revelation of who I was to his fiancé's family, the context of what Priya had said before he arrived, the 18 months of professional relationship now overlaid with this new information. I filed this. I was good at filing things when the context required it. My mother found me in the kitchen at one point, where I had gone to help with the refilling of things. The speech, she said. It's fine, I said. It wasn't fine, she said. It was Priya being Priya, I said. She didn't know. She should have asked, my mother said, before she decided what she knew. I looked at my mother, this woman who had watched me build something for 7 years without fully understanding what I was building, and who had, just now, defended me with more precision than she usually used. It's her engagement party, I said. It doesn't matter tonight. My mother looked at me. The young man, she said. Karen, he knew you. He works with me, I said. She was quiet for a moment. He looked at you, she said, the way people look at someone they respect very much. He's a good director, I said. She gave me the look that mothers give when they know you are not saying everything. I went back to the party. Part 6, the Monday after. Monday morning at Arctes was always a specific thing. The particular energy of a company at the start of a week, the product team stand-up at 9, the rhythm of the work resuming from wherever Friday had left it. I arrived at the office at 8, which was my standard. I had my coffee and my review of the weekend emails, and the quiet hour before the building filled that was the most productive hour of my day. I was, by 8:30, entirely in the work, and the work was entirely where I wanted to be. Karen arrived at 9:10, also standard. I heard him come in. My office was open plan, glass-walled, the leadership team's section visible from mine. He came to my door at 9:15, which was also standard for Mondays. We did a brief alignment at the start of each week, 15 minutes, the operational check-in that kept us coordinated. He came in. He closed the door, which was not always standard. He sat in the chair across from my desk, and he said, "I owe you a conversation." "You don't owe me anything," I said. "Mira," he said, the tone he used when he was disagreeing with me and wanted me to know it before the disagreement. I set down my coffee. "Okay," I said. "I've been thinking about it since Saturday," he said. "About what she said before I walked in, about what I walked into." "It was a party," I said. "It was your sister telling 30 people that you have nothing to show for your life," he said, directly, accurately. "And I walked in 20 seconds later and said something that changed the room. I need to say something about that." I looked at him across the desk. "What do you want to say?" I said. "That I'm sorry for not having put the connection together sooner," he said. "If I had known she was your sister, I would have said something to her, privately, long before a party." "You didn't know," I said. "I know I didn't know," he said. "I'm still sorry for the gap." I looked at him. "You've worked here for 19 months, I said. "Have I ever asked you to manage my family relationships?" "No," he said. "This is the same," I said. "Not your responsibility." He was quiet for a moment. "She talks about you," he said, carefully. "I know she does," I said. "Not the way she should," he said. "Karen," I said. "I'm not saying this as your director or as someone with a stake in the family thing," he said. "I'm saying it as someone who has watched you build this company for 19 months and who knows what it is, what you are. And the version of you that she was describing at that party was," he stopped. "Was the version she has access to," I said. "I don't talk about work at family things, so she fills the silence with her best guess." "Her best guess is wrong," he said. "Yes," I said, "it is." A pause. "Are you going to tell her?" he said. "I don't tell people to impress them," I said. "She'll understand what she understands when she understands it." He looked at me for a moment. "That's the most patient thing I've ever heard," he said. "I've been building a company for 7 years," I said. "Patience is a professional requirement." Something shifted slightly in his expression, not the professional one. "Right," he said. He stood up. "Monday alignment." "Monday alignment," I said. And we did the alignment, and the work resumed, and I did not look at the door after he had gone through it for any longer than the situation required. Part 7. The weeks. The weeks after the engagement party were complicated in the way of things that have multiple layers running simultaneously. Layer 1, the family layer. Priya had called me the Sunday after the party, and the call had been the specific call of someone who has spent 24 hours processing embarrassment and has come out the other side with a version of events that was partially honest and partially self-protective. She had said she had not meant it the way it sounded. She had said she was sorry if I had felt put down. She had not quite said she had been wrong about what she thought she knew. I had accepted the apology that was there and not asked for the one that wasn't. Not because I was being noble, because I had understood something at the party that I had not fully understood before, which was that Priya's version of me was not something she had built to hurt me. She had built it because I had left the space empty. I had chosen, for years, not to fill it. The misunderstanding was partly mine. "I should have told you more," I said, "about what I'm doing. I've kept it separate from family things, and I shouldn't have kept it that separate." She was quiet for a moment. "What are you doing?" she said, the real question. The first time she had asked it like that. Come for lunch, I said. I'll show you. She came the following Saturday. I took her to the ArcD's office, not a tour, just, here is where I work, here is what I built, here are the 311 people. Here is the Series C number on the whiteboard in the conference room that I had not erased because I liked seeing it. She had walked through the office very quietly. She had looked at things. She had not said much. On the way out, she had said, I didn't know. I know you didn't, I said. I was stupid, she said. You were working with incomplete information, I said. I was stupid, she said again, more certain this time. I had not argued with her. Layer 2 was the professional layer. Karen and I worked well. We had always worked well, and the party had not changed that. The work was the work, and the work was where we were both most ourselves. And in that context, the engagement party was simply something that had happened outside the office, and that we were both professional enough to have left there. But the thing I had filed at the party, the way he had looked at me from across the room in the moments that were not professional moments, had not entirely stayed filed. I noticed things about Karen that I had been not noticing for 19 months. Not new things, things that had been present, and that I had been managing with the specific discipline of someone who understood that certain things could not be acted on without careful thought. The way he was in meetings where the work was hard, not performing certainty, but working toward it visibly, which was more useful than the performance and which I had valued professionally. The way he was with the team, the specific quality of his presence that made people work better, which was real and which I had been watching for 19 months. And the specific way he was with me in the week after the party, slightly more careful than usual, slightly more attentive in the way of someone who has seen something new and is adjusting the picture. I filed all of this. The file was getting full. Part 8, PROA and KARAN. 3 weeks after the party, Priya told me something over the phone that I did not expect. She had been talking about the wedding planning, the venue, the dates, the things that occupied a new engagement. Then she had said, in a different tone, Karen talks about you at home. I waited. About work, she said, quickly. About projects, about decisions you make. He explains things to me sometimes about the company, about what you're building. He talks about it the way, she stopped. The way what? I said. The way people talk about something they genuinely admire, she said. Not like a boss, like a person they respect completely. I looked at the window of my apartment. He's a good director, I said. Same thing I had said to my mother. Mira, she said. Priya, I said. I'm not saying anything, she said. I'm just telling you what I observe. Okay, I said. He's a good person, she said. He's been good to me. Since the separation, the building back, he's been good. I'm glad, I said and meant it. But, she said, since the party, he's, I don't know, different in a way I can't explain. I was very still. Different how? I said. More internal, she said. More in his head, not cold, just working through something. A pause. I thought you should know. I sat with this. Priya, I said, what are you actually saying? She was quiet for a long moment. I don't know yet, she said. I needed to say it to someone. You were the person I called. Which told me something. Are you two okay? I said. I think so, she said. Yes, I think yes. But the 3-part answer had a texture to it. Tell me if that changes, I said. I will, she said. We talked for a while longer about other things. After I hung up, I sat in my apartment for a long time thinking about a conversation that had said several things and named none of them. Part 9, the distance. Here is when things became difficult. Karen requested a move in his reporting structure. He had a professional rationale. He had taken on a remit that overlapped with another division, and having a clearer operational line through the COO rather than directly through me would reduce a coordination overhead. The rationale was sound. I had considered it myself and had been going to raise it in the quarterly review. I approved it. And then the regular Monday alignment ended. Not dramatically, it wasn't needed at the same frequency with the new structure. We were still in the same building, still working toward the same things, still overlapping on significant decisions. But the daily operational proximity changed. I told myself this was clean, professional, the right structure for the right reasons. The filing system said something else. He came to my office less. This was the correct behavior for the new structure. I had less reason to walk through the product section. This was also correct. The work was unaffected. The product division was performing well, the numbers were right, the team was healthy. The space felt different. I noticed it the way you notice a sound that has been present in a room for a long time when it stops, not with immediate alarm, but with the specific awareness of an absence. My head of operations, a woman named Deepa who had been with me from year 2 and who knew everything about how I worked, came to my office one afternoon and said, "You moved his reporting structure." It was the right call operationally, I said. "Yes," she said, and nothing," I said. She looked at me with the specific expression she had for when I was not saying what I was actually thinking. "Deepa," I said. "Mira," she said, "I've worked with you for 5 years. You built a structure to create distance and called it operational efficiency." "The rationale was sound," I said. "The rationale was real," she said. "So was the other reason." I looked at my screen. "His fiancé is my sister," I said. "I know," she said. "That's a complicated situation," I said. "Yes," she said, "it is." She stood. "I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just nomming what I see." She went back to her office. I sat for a long time after she left. Part 10. What Karen said. He came to my office on a Thursday afternoon, 6 weeks after the party. He knocked on the open door, the knock of someone who is asking permission rather than announcing arrival. I looked up. He came in. "Do you have a few minutes?" he said. "Yes," I said. He sat in the chair across from my desk. Not the professional posture of the Monday alignments, the posture of someone who is going to say something real. "The reporting structure change," he said. "It was the right operational call," I said. "I know it was," he said. "I also know it wasn't only that." I looked at him. "Karen," I said. "Let me say this properly," he said. I waited. "I've been thinking for 6 weeks about how to say what I need to say," he said. "About the party and about things that existed before the party and about what I owe to various situations and people. I've been thinking carefully because it matters and because getting it wrong would be," he stopped. "Getting it wrong would cost things I don't want to cost." "Go on," I said. "Priya and I have had some honest conversations," he said, "in the last few weeks, about the engagement and about what is real between us and what is not." He looked at his hands. "She is a good person. She has been through something hard and is building back, and I genuinely care about her." A pause. "But I've understood in these weeks that caring about someone and being the right person for them to build their life with are not always the same thing." I was very still. "We ended the engagement," he said. "Last week, mutually, with honesty and with sadness and with, I think, real respect for each other." I looked at him. "Is she okay?" I said, first question, the true first question. "She's sad," he said. "She's going to be okay. We talked for a long time." She said, he paused. "She said she had been using the engagement to build something that wasn't built yet, that she had been running toward something rather than toward me specifically. I think she was right, and I think it took honesty from both of us to get there." I sat with this. "I'm sorry," I said. "I know," he said. "Why are you telling me?" I said. He looked at me directly. "Because I wanted you to know before I said anything else," he said. "Because what I want to say after this requires you to know this first." The office was quiet. Arctes was humming around us. I could hear the particular sound of 300 people doing work that mattered, the specific alive sound of a company in its stride. "Say it then," I said. "I've been working alongside you for 19 months, he said. "I've watched you make decisions that were right and some that needed correcting, and you corrected them without hesitation. I've watched you with the team. The specific way you make people feel that the work is real and that they are real in it. I've watched you in hard meetings where the numbers were bad and in good ones where the numbers were very good, and the version of you in both was the same version, the real one. I looked at him. Mira, he said. Yes, I said. I'm not saying this as a director to a CEO, he said. I'm saying this as someone who has filed things for 19 months and is done filing them. The specific language, filed, landed on me in a particular way. The reporting structure change, I said. Was the right operational call, he said, and was also you filing something. I was quiet for a moment. Yes, I said. I know, he said. I watched you do it, I understood what it was. And, I said. And I think you filed it for the right reasons, he said. The reasons were real, but they've changed. I looked at him across the desk. This person who had come into my company and had done the work seriously and had argued with me when I was wrong and had never once managed himself down in my presence, and who was now sitting in the chair across from my desk, saying the thing that had been in the filing system for 19 months. The professional context is still real, I said. Yes, he said. It needs to be thought through honestly. The structure exists for a reason. I'm not asking you to ignore it. What are you asking? I said. I'm asking if the filing is done, he said. I'm asking if there's an honest conversation to be had. Not tonight, not by pretending the context doesn't exist, but a real one. The afternoon light was coming through the glass wall of my office. The specific quality of late afternoon in the office I had chosen, because the light was right at this hour. Priya needs time, I said. Yes, he said, she does. I need time too, I said. Not because I don't know what I think, because this matters enough to do correctly. I know, he said. I'm not asking for anything tonight. I'm asking for the conversation to be possible. I looked at him for a long moment. The conversation is possible, I said. Something in him settled. The specific settling of someone who has said the thing and has been heard. Monday alignment, he said. You have a new reporting structure, I said. I know, he said. I meant coffee before the building fills up Monday morning. I looked at him. 8 o'clock, I said. The place around the corner. 8 o'clock, he said. He stood. He went to the door. At the door he stopped. The party, he said. Yes, I said. I walked in 20 seconds after she said what she said, he said, and the room understood something that she hadn't understood yet. He looked at me. I didn't plan that. I know, I said. But I'm not sorry it happened, he said. I looked at him. Neither am I said. Part 11, PROAA after. I called Priya. She answered, and I could hear in her voice the specific texture of someone who has been crying and has stopped and is now in the quieter space after. He told me he talked to you, she said. Yes, I said. Are you okay? I will be, she said, the true answer not performed. Tell me, I said. She told me, the full version, the weeks of honest conversations, the understanding that she had been moving toward an idea rather than toward a person, the specific sadness of ending something that had genuinely mattered even though ending it was right. She talked for a long time, and I listened with the full attention that she deserved. When she finished, she said, Can I say something? Yes, I said. At the party, she said. What I said, I've been thinking about why I said it. You didn't know, I said. I didn't know the specifics, she said. But I knew you were doing something. You were always doing something, you were always working, always building, always going somewhere. I knew that, she stopped. What? I said. I think I needed you to be less than me, she said. Because you were always going somewhere and the separation was very hard, Mira. I was very lost for a long time. And having a version of you that was smaller than what you actually are made me feel less lost. I sat with this. I understand that, I said, honestly. That doesn't make it okay, she said. No, I said, but it makes it human. She was quiet for a moment. I'm proud of you, she said. I should have said that a long time ago. I should have asked instead of assumed. I'm proud of what you've built. I looked at the wall of my apartment. Thank you, I said. That means something. Take care of yourself, she said. Always, I said. You too. Part 12, Monday AT8. 3 months after the engagement party. The coffee place around the corner from Arctes was a small place I had been going to since before the office was in this building. One of those places that exists in a city before the neighborhood changes, and that holds on through the change with the specific persistence of things that are genuinely good. The coffee was correct. The corner table was mine by habit. Nobody from the office came this early. He was there at 8. Already at the table, 2 coffees already ordered because he had learned my order the way you learn the orders of people you have worked closely with for a long time. I sat across from him. We talked for an hour. Not about work, about everything else. About how we had each come to be doing what we were doing, the specific paths that had led us here. He told me about the years before Arctes, the large company where he had been doing good work that wasn't being seen, the accumulating frustration that had become a reason to leave. I told him about the early years of Arctes. Year 2, when the wrong decisions had almost ended it. Year 4 and the funding problem, the things I had never told anyone except in retrospect. He listened with the full attention he brought to things that mattered. I listened the same way. At the end of the hour, he said, the reporting structure needs to be handled carefully, I said. Long term, if this becomes what we're talking about, there's a real conversation to have about structure and what's right. I know, he said. I've been thinking about it. So have I said. There are options, he said, that are both honest and that don't compromise the company. Yes, I said, we'll think through them properly. Together, he said. Together, I said. He looked at me across the coffee table with the expression I had been filing for 19 months, and that I was, at this particular Monday morning at 8 o'clock, done filing. Priya is okay, I said. I know, he said. She texted me this week. She sounded more like herself than she has in months. She's figuring things out, I said. She does that. She's always done that when she lets herself. Like her sister, he said. I looked at him. She said that, he said, that you both figure things out in different styles. Different timelines, I said. Yes, he said. Hers is more visible, yours is. Internal, I said. And then suddenly external, he said, in a way that changes rooms. I thought about the party, the word, the silence, the 30 people assembling information at the same speed. That was not planned, I said. I know, he said, but you weren't sorry it happened. No, I said, I wasn't. The coffee place was warm around us. The city was doing its Monday morning things outside the window. The company I had built was 40 meters away and full of people doing work that mattered. And across the table was a person who had walked through a door and said one word and had, in saying it, said several true things at once, about who I was and what I had built and the specific distance between the version of me that had been presented at that party and the version that actually existed. The filing was done. The conversation was possible. And Monday morning had never felt more like a beginning. Clapperboard final hook. She stood in the center of the room, and she described me to 30 people. She described someone who was still finding her way, who hadn't figured it out, who was moving at a different speed. She described the version of me that the silence had produced, the version that exists in the space you leave empty when you decide that certain rooms don't deserve the full picture. And then a door opened, and a man who had been working alongside me for 19 months said one word. And the room understood something my sister had not known. The version she described was not the version that existed. I have 311 employees and offices in 3 cities, and a company that closed its Series C 6 months ago, and a corner table at a coffee place, where someone who learned my order meets me at 8 on Monday mornings. I am 30 years old. I am exactly where I plan to be. Priya is okay. She is figuring things out, which she has always done when she lets herself. She called me last Tuesday and talked for an hour and said things she should have said earlier, and it was real and it was enough. My mother was right. He does look at me the way people look at someone they respect completely. And I am done filing it. If this story found something you needed, if someone has ever described a smaller version of you to a room that didn't know the real one like it, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe. Tell me in the comments, has someone ever underestimated you in a room that found out the truth? And one last question. 6 months from now, there is a company event, the Arctes annual gathering, the one where the whole team comes together and we talk about what we built and what we're building next. And Priya comes. I invite her. She walks into the Arctes office for the second time, and she sees something she didn't see on the first visit. And she says something to me, quietly, on the way out. Should I tell you what she said? Part 2 is coming. Eyes. Subscribe. You will not want to miss it. The Revenge Chronicles.